We all think we know the story of the three little pigs. But what if I told you it's not just some kid's story? Let's forget the fairy tale for a second and look at it for what it really is, a surprisingly sharp case study in planning, risk management, and strategic investment. So that's really the big question we're tackling here. What can a story that's been around for literally centuries teach us about making smart choices today? Well, you might be surprised. Turns out, it's all about how you decide to tackle a problem from the get-go. All right, so our story kicks off with three main characters, and they all share the exact same mission: leave home, go make their way in the world, and build a house to keep themselves safe. A simple, shared goal, right? But as you're about to see, how they each decided to achieve that goal, well, that's where things get really interesting. And here's where you can see their initial strategies laid out plain as day. Pig number one, he goes for straw. Super fast, super low effort. Pig number two picks sticks. Okay, a bit of an upgrade, but he's still all about speed. But then you've got pig number three. He chooses bricks. Now, this is a totally different game. It implies a huge upfront investment of time and hard work. So right from the start, you've got three completely different project plans on the table. Every strategy, no matter how good you think it is, eventually gets tested by some outside force. In the real world, maybe it's a market crash or a new competitor. In our story, it's the big bad wolf. He's that predictable risk that's coming, the one that's going to stress test every single one of those foundations. And just like that, the test begins. The wolf shows up and makes his demand, a direct, unmistakable threat. The risk is no longer theoretical. It's right there at the door. And how does the first pig respond? With pure defiance. He's feeling confident, totally safe behind his straw walls. This is just a classic case of a false sense of security, isn't it? It's what happens when you have a low investment strategy that hasn't faced a real challenge yet. He genuinely believes his work is good enough. So now, the pressure's on. The wolf doesn't need some complex plan. He just applies brute force. You can just feel the tension building, as we're about to see just how fragile that first choice of material really was. And the result? Well, what did we expect? Total structural failure. The path of least resistance just led to a complete and utter collapse at the very first sign of trouble. The only thing that saves the pig is that he's fast enough to run to the next house. The wolf sees that his tactic worked perfectly, so he just moves right along to the next house. He doesn't even have to change his approach. He repeats the exact same threat, because why wouldn't he? He knows it works. This is what you call a persistent threat. Now, there are two pigs inside, so maybe their confidence is a little higher, but their underlying strategy is just as weak. They shout back with that same defiance, which just goes to show they have not learned the lesson about using strong materials. All they've done is double down on a failing strategy. And no surprise here, the result is completely predictable. The stick house was just a tiny upgrade, and it crumbles under the exact same pressure. The second strategy is a total failure, hammering home that core lesson. A weak foundation offers zero real security. Their only option now is to run for their lives to that final house. Okay, so this is it. We've reached the climax. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's not just a couple of pigs hiding in a house anymore. This is a true showdown between relentless brute force pressure and meticulous long-term preparation. The third pig strategy is about to face the ultimate test. And this, right here, is what it all boils down to. Straw and sticks, they represent the quick and easy path. Bricks, on the other hand, represent the slow and strong approach. It's that classic trade-off. Do you want short-term convenience, or do you want long-term security? The third pig, he chose security. The wolf tries the same old trick. He huffs and he puffs. But this time, something's different. The pattern is finally broken. The house stands firm. This is that critical turning point, the moment where superior preparation completely and totally neutralizes the threat. And the result? It speaks for itself, doesn't it? Absolute success. Zero failures. The third pig's massive upfront investment paid off exactly when it mattered the most. But hold on, the story isn't over yet. See, a persistent threat adapts. The wolf, he's angry now. He couldn't win with brute force, so now he's got to get creative. He's changing his strategy. So the critical question becomes, can the pigs adapt as well? And this brings us to the final act, because the victory wasn't just about building a strong house. It was about having the cleverness to handle the next threat, the unexpected one. The pigs now have a secure base to operate from, which lets them think instead of just reacting in panic.
And here is their absolutely brilliant countermove. They see the wolf climbing onto the roof, and they immediately identify the new threat, the chimney. But they don't just block it, they set an active trap. First, they light a big fire. Then they place a huge pot of water on top. In one single move, they've shifted from playing defense to playing offense.
And that is the end game. The wolf's clever new strategy leads him right into their even cleverer trap. His attempt to outsmart them is completely defeated by their superior foresight and proactive planning. The threat is neutralized, for good. So, what are the big lessons here? First off, hard work pays off. The effort the third pig put in at the beginning was the foundation for everything. Second, solid preparation beats threats, period. That brick house was the perfect counter to the wolf's power. Third, foresight is a massive strategic advantage. It's not just about building walls, it's about anticipating what your opponent might do next. And finally, and this is maybe the biggest lesson of all, the easy path is almost always the most dangerous one. The first two pigs definitely learned that the hard way. And that really leaves us with one final thought. In our own lives, in our careers, in our projects, we're all constantly building something. So in a world that's full of wolves, unexpected challenges and constant change, it's worth asking yourself, which house are you building? Are you building with straw, with sticks, or with bricks?